All right. So first of all, that was not today, but last week. So that was the summary of your scores 7 days ago on beginner, and this is equivalent today. So I hope you agree with me that today will look better. Yeah. Again, today, last week, today. In other words, pretty much everybody who has participated managed to solve all the questions. We can see that probably question number 4 was the most complicated one. So I propose to review it today on beginner, and then we'll jump straight to the intermediate. So let's have a look to the results. Individual results. Our friend Giacomo has participated. So we'll see where he fits in that list of talented developers. So Rosel got 82 points. Looking good. I mean, to me, accuracy and speed are probably the least important ones. Yeah? Because accuracy is something that gets naturally better when you keep improving. I will be more worried about things like focus and elegance. Yeah? And that's looking quite good. So 83 points for Jiyun, 91 points for Octavian, 92 points for Camila. Now on the podium, 96 points for Anita. Where is Anita, by the way? Where is she joining from? From where? From home? Okay, cool. On the second place, we got Florian with 97 points, and the winner today on beginner is Giacomo with 98. Yeah, so we can ignore him for now. So anyway, people like Florian, Anita, Camila, and Octavian, next week please join intermediate straight away. Yeah? Don't play beginner challenges anymore. Cool, good stuff, guys. What about the intermediate? Let's have a quick look. That was last week, not today. That was last week. And today, much better. Yeah, much better. So last week, I think the red one was Giacomo, and then someone else. What was that? Was that Anita? Yeah. And today, even if Giacomo played here, essentially you can see that more people managed to get points. Yeah, which is great. All right, so let's present the results. Actually, I don't think that Giacomo won that fight because essentially he joined like 5 minutes before the end. So anyway, let's figure out. So no points for Jiyun, no points for Rosel, no points for Kaini, no points for Camila, no points for Florin, no points for Chuck. That will change next week, right, guys? And on the podium, Anita, 29 points. Yeah, still 15 last week. So she's almost duplicated the score in 70, which is good. Yeah? However, even though the eventual score is really good, I have some concerns regarding elegance. Guys, elegance is clearly the easiest one to improve because you got the elegance console. Yeah? When you forget a semicolon, when indentation is wrong, things like that, you get a stray message. Please fix that. Yeah? So that's not really acceptable to lose any points here. Anyway, so now it's between Giacomo and Alex, I think, right? Actually, yes. So 56 points for Giacomo, and then look how outstanding this is, right? 82 points for Alex. That means that it's the first one probably to get the blue tick regarding React Challenge. So hopefully, Alex, now you can concentrate on jobs. You should continue running React Challenges, yeah? Because otherwise, if you stop doing React, you'll forget everything, yeah? But you got the blue tick in that respect. All right, so now it's time to do the review. So once again, I would like just to solve the fourth question on beginner, and then I would like to jump straight to intermediate. Something a bit off topic, because I've seen many Florins around. You may have noticed, maybe not, probably not, Florin did. If I can scroll down. Hello? Yeah. Oh, hello? Oh, here you go. That Florin could be the first player to get... what is that? I'll find it. Here you go. It's got almost 1,000 training exercises, which is great, yeah? I mean, that proves, to me, that proves attitude, like keep pushing, keep praying, keep practicing, blah, blah, blah. Yeah? That's good stuff, guys. Only one lady in the top 10, just saying, yeah? Cool, so then, once again, let's go straight to question number 4, where you struggle a bit. Of course, if you want to focus on any other question in particular, let me know. But by default, I would like just to focus on the most complicated one. That was question number 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Display the details of a given user. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting because we already covered that question, I believe. I'm not sure if it was on the last week or 2 weeks ago. But let's quickly go through it. So you got a component called user. How many props the user component receives?
One.
Correct, Yiyun. Just one, just the user. Props.user. However, that's an object. So if we eventually want to access the name, I'm sure we'll need the name at some point. We'll have to do props.user.name, and pretty much the same thing with the age. Yeah? So that's okay. However, the main source of complexity here is that we need to dynamically iterate through all the properties. So it's not about hard coding them. We need to dynamically access through all the properties and then display the associated values, as you can see here. With object.keys, so let's present that. If our user is something like name, Peter, and then age 21, what object.keys of user will return, guys? Thank you, Leo. Guys, you need to get used to be precise with your explanation. Yeah? I know you know that, but I want you to be very precise. So that will return an array containing 2 strings, one for each key. On the first one, name. On the second one, age. All right, so once you got that, because we're using map, that means we can iterate through all these keys. And then we want to display, first of all, the name of the key. So it will display name, colon, and I want to display Peter. So how do we access the value associated to that key dynamically?
Props.user. Score correctly, so we can put key.
What happens if I do that?
It's not okay.
That will look for a property called key explicitly. Something weird like that, yeah? However, that's not what we want, right? We don't want to access any property called key. We want to essentially access, for instance, the name. So to access the name with the square bracket notation, do that. To access the age, you can do that. However, because we don't want to hard code that, we want to dynamically point to a different key, we can replace that string with the key variable. And that should hopefully work. Once again, question number 3 on JavaScript beginner. Yeah? Very important question. Any questions? I mean, I'm happy that even though it took you a bit, some of you, at least you managed to solve it. Yeah? Last week it was a big disaster. All right, cool. So let's leave it here. And now let me jump to intermediate, because there were some tricky questions on intermediate. So let's waste our energies doing the intermediate. Oh, it looks a bit weird, right? All right, so cool. So what we got today? Question number 1. Okay, I'm not going to do that, and the reason is we literally reviewed that question last Monday. And I believe we solve it in two different ways, using a stateful component and stateless, or a hook. Yeah? So just for the sake of productivity, I'm not going to do it. If you want to know how to do it, please have a look to the workshop we recorded literally 7 days ago. And actually, out of coincidence, the second question was also reviewed on the last week. So I'm not going to do it. However, the third question is new. So let's do that. That's one of the most beautiful but probably complicated questions on intermediate. The reason why I love it is because it solves a real life issue. The problem here is we want to display a list of countries. Yeah? We have an array of countries. But then we also want to display an input field. So we want to be able to filter. Yeah? I got 200 countries, but if I type JAP, I want to display only the countries that include JAP. That will be probably only Japan, as an example. Yeah? So that's pretty much the idea. So I propose something. Let's solve the problem in two different ways. Let's first of all solve the problem using a stateful component. Let's get rid of everything, and let's solve it again using a stateless component or a hook. And we will see the differences. So, yeah, you?
Before you start,
Yep.
I'm still confused. Like when I see the question, like if you have when, and then expecting how to read this, how can I understand?
Yeah, that's TDD. That's actually what we explained last week on the TDD deeper dive workshop. I don't know, it was Wednesday or Thursday. It was last week, a few days ago. So we talk about what that means. This is just for readability. And that means nothing. I could type GU here. This is just a comment in JavaScript. But that's a way to tell the reader, hey, when I got this data, then I expect that. And now when I click someone or when I type something, then I expect that. So this is just a way to organize your component in a readable way. Yeah? All right, so, yeah, first of all, do we need a state, guys? Is the UI going to change at any point?
Yeah.
That's correct. So at some point, we are going to simulate some value change. Yeah? Even though that line is a bit exotic, here essentially we are simulating, hey, now the user is interacting with the input. Yeah? And based on that change, something should happen. I don't know why I cannot scroll down, so I cannot show you the bottom of the screen. We need to fix that. But yeah, that's pretty much the thing. Yeah? If we type JOR, essentially that should display only Jordan, yeah? Not Japan or Jamaica. Yeah? Something like that. Okay, so typing a stateful component, constructor, what else? Super, correct. And now I have to type the state. So let me call that, for instance, search. So this is what the user has typed. By default, he's typed nothing, so just an empty string. Eh? And now render, return. So once again, you see I'm preparing the exercise. I'm preparing the skeleton. I got the div, and then what else? On top of the div, I have an input type. There is no type, but probably should be type text. It's a normal input, not a password. It would be weird, right? To use a password input to search things. I don't know. Just raw, plain input text. And there will be an on-change event, so definitely we want to deal with that input, but for now, let's leave it at that. And now the next thing is, I want to display the list of countries. You see? So get countries, wrapper.find p. So for each country, we should have a p or a paragraph. So how do we iterate over the list of countries? Second? With a list. How do we do that? How do we display each country individually? Okay, map, I agree on that. We got an array of strings, and we want to get an array of paragraphs. So map will probably work quite okay. And what's the syntax? Yeah, first of all, curly braces, yeah, because we want to add a JavaScript expression. And how do we access the list of countries? Anyone apart from Alex? This dot state. What else? Kaini? Dot Kaini? Dot list. Is that correct? Do we have any property called list in our state? I cannot see any of that here. I can see only the search. Who is providing the list of countries? It's the parent. The parent is providing a list. So how do we access that? Correct. This dot what? How many hours you slept tonight, guys? This dot props. Dot what? Dot list. Correct, Gideon. This dot props dot list. And now I use map to go through each individual country. Yeah. So I can do that. Now I can display a p tag. So what do I have to type here inside of the p tag? Can you say it again, please? Curly brace, yes. And then what? Like that? Any thoughts? What type of data country is? Is it a string? Is it an object? Is it a function? You say it again, please. You think country is an array? It's a string, correct. So list is the array. And then we iterate through each individual element of the list, and that will return each particular country. You can rename that instead of country to Godzilla if you want. Yeah, I don't care. Well, I do care, but yeah, I call it country or country name if you want. I don't know. Yeah, but that's a string. So I can just display the string. Is there anything else missing here in this line? The key. Why the key, Alex? Correct. We need to tell React, please use that token as the identifier. So can you give me, can anybody apart from Alex give me a good key? Country. Is the country unique? Well, we can assume that, yeah? I think it's a reasonable assumption that the country names are unique. All right. So that should hopefully display a list of countries. To the point that until here, actually you cannot see anything. That's a bit unfortunate, guys. I cannot scroll down. Sorry. So, yes. So until here, everything should be okay. Everything should be okay. It should start failing here. You see here, you simulate a change, you type JOR, and now suddenly the list of countries should be reduced to, instead of 3, just 1. Okay, so let's see what happens if we evaluate that piece of code. I'm sacrificing a bit of accuracy, but I'm right. You see, all these spec bits are correct. I got 3 paragraphs. The first one is Jamaica, then Japan, and then Jordan. Yeah, so that's good. So now, even though I sacrifice a bit of a score, at least I know that until the middle of the exercise, I'm right. So I'm definitely following the right approach. So now, input. How do we capture type changes on an input text, guys? Is it on click, on hover, on change? I like that for it. On change, correct. On change. Some people, I've seen people doing on key up. or on key down. Can anybody tell me what's the problem associated to that event listener on key up or on key down?
It changes every time.
Is it-
It's the country every time that you're clicking on the text area or something like that.
No, so on key down, every time I
So
type,
okay, it's gonna
it will log it, so it will capture it. That's a classic job interview question. What do you think about that? I mean, probably it will work. Actually, we can even try to solve it using on key down or on key up. But there is a big issue. What happened if rather than typing my country, Japan, I got Japan on the clipboard. I do right click paste. I'm not performing any key down, key up, or anything like that. Yeah? So these events are dangerous because that will make sense only if the user is using the keyboard. Sometimes that's not the way the users interact with the applications. Yeah? So on chains is super beautiful because on chains doesn't care about whether you are using your keyboard or your mouse. As far as the input changes, it will capture. Yeah? And that's exactly what we want. So on chains, if you remember with the on-click, with the buttons, with on-click, we do things like that. On-click, and now this dot, for instance, update search, something like that. That's wrong. On-click is not correct. But the idea was update search, and now here we could do this dot set state whatever, yeah? Search, whatever. But the problem is, when you get a click event, there is nothing else you care about. You click on a button, you want to run an action. However, in this particular case, with the on-chains, we want to capture the input, the data that the user has entered, because depending on the data, we will show some countries or different countries. That's the tricky part. And someone actually, don't remember who, last week asked, oh, what happened when you got the event? That's a good example. When you have on-change, on-key down, on-click, blah, 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 you can pass one argument, E, or event. And that argument will hold all the relevant information associated to the user action. So now, update search, I can receive the event. So does anybody know where the data of the user is as part of this event object? All right, I'll tell you. E, target, correct? Value, that's right. Yes, correct. If you notice, look at the syntax. Simulate change event, and then on the second argument, you are passing the event. So here you can see the object of the event, e.target.value. That's a standard in JavaScript. Yeah? So even if you are not using React, even if you're using Angular or Vue, e.target.value, that's the same thing. And that will hopefully hold the information of the user. Yeah? If he type ITA, because you want to find Italy, then e.target.value will be ITA, yeah? Something like that. Will that work? So will that filter anything? Let's have a look. Still failing. Oh, expected to have a length of 1. So after typing JOR, we expect to display one country, but we're still displaying them all, you see? We got 3. Why?
because you don't actually utilize the state.
That's correct, Alex. So we created a state, but why the hell just by creating a state and maintaining it React will filter the list of countries. Do you see any filtering at all in this component? So how do you filter stuff in JavaScript? Correct, filter. Where, Octavian? Here we're using map.
Yeah. I
So-
wasn't sure.
Can we do filter here? Can we do filter afterwards? Which one? Before or after? Where do we filter the data? Before? Why before, Kaini?
It's very tiny p-tag inside the map. They're using p-tag inside the map.
Do you get that, Octavian?
There's a p-tag inside the map already returned.
But will it work if we do it afterwards? Technically speaking, we can filter anywhere. That's fine. But the thing is, from a performance point of view, imagine that you got by default 1 million countries, which doesn't make any sense. Yeah? We don't have 1 million countries. But anyway, how you get the point? You get a list with 1 million elements. And based on the filtering, you want to display only 3. What is it more efficient? Display 1 million elements and then remove 900,900 blah, 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 or just get rid of everything and then only keep 3 countries and display them? You get my point? Correct. Filtering first is considered a good pattern because first of all, you remove all the unnecessary data and then you just display what you need. Even though, hey, once again, technically speaking, you could filter afterwards, technically speaking. Cool. So, and now, then what? Okay, so you got list.filter. So now, can anybody tell me what's the condition I have to write here?
The name of the country would have to be equal to the target value, to what the user was typing.
Okay, so then what? What do I, tell me, what do I,
Country
country,
should be the target value.
like that?
No, target value.
E target value. But where is the E coming from? So Chuck is now suggesting to type update search.
This state search.
This state search. Like that? That's interesting. That's interesting. Even though that's wrong, that's interesting. So can anybody tell me if I got, imagine that I got 3 countries, Italy, France, and Spain. Yeah? And I type F, R, A. What will my algorithm display? Nothing. Kaini is right. Why? Because country, is country Italy equal to FRA? No. Is country France equal to FRA? No. Is country Spain equal to FRA? No. So that won't display anything. Unless, if I type France, then it will work. But I hope you agree with me that from a search engine point of view, that's not very human friendly. I don't want to type the entire thing. I want to type, and as soon as I type, I want the algorithm to start displaying results somehow. So even though the approach is okay, but you know it's not very flexible. So how can we make sure that if we just type FRA, it returns France instead of Italy and Spain? In other words, how do you check that a string FRA is part of another string? I love that, Yiyun. I love that. Includes, she's right. Includes will tell you if one string includes another one. And now the question is, what's the syntax? Yiyun? Anybody? Kenny? This dot state dot search includes what? Country. Interesting. What do you think about that?
Yeah, should be the other way around.
I don't know. Should be like that, should be the other way around. Why, Chuck? The other way around.
Because you're filtering countries, so you need to check whether the country in the input value is matching the state.
Yep, I agree with Chuck. Look, based on this algorithm, basically here what you're saying is, my search is FRA. Does FRA include France? No. Nothing should be returned. FRAN. Does it include France? No. Does it include France? No. Does it include France? Yes. Does it include France? Yes.
The reason why I said that, not the other way around, because the other way around makes more sense to me, but the reason why I said this is because when we had the vowels, remember I, E, O, U, whatever,
Yes.
we've been doing vowels include the name of the word, not the other way around, even though the other way around is more
Vowels includes?
than the word.
No, you don't do that. You do vowels includes a given vowel. So what you do in that particular exercise is A, E, I, O, U dot includes character.
We were checking the characters, not words.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. In that particular case, it makes sense because you are checking all the vowels. If that list of vowels includes one particular, could be X, Y, Z, or O.
Okay.
So that's essentially the same algorithm. Yeah.
I thought that we were checking the word.
No.
The character was as a word. And I said, this is bullshit. Let's go with it.
All right. So then, how does it look like on the other way around?
The country includes this.
Correct. Country dot includes this dot state dot search. Yep. Cool. Will this work? Did I miss anything? So look, let's run it. I'm 57% sure that should work. Here you go. And you got confetti. However, here you got a warning. I got a warning because that line is too long. So you can, of course, you can do something like that, yeah? You can move things a bit, and then everything should still work, as you can see. So that's the stateful, that's a classic version. Any questions? No?
Just because you talked about key up. What's key up?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there are two similar events. One is on key down and one is on key up. On key down means as soon as you press the button, it triggers. On key up means when you press the button, it doesn't trigger. It triggers when you release that. Yeah? So it looks a bit more standard to trigger events when you release the element than when you press it. This is very typical on buttons. So when you have a button, I remember I did one trip to Germany many years ago, to Berlin, and I think it was like super cool apartment, Airbnb, all these things. And I pressed the book button, but when I pressed the book button, I was still reading in the background the description of the apartment, and then at the bottom it said like, "Welcome to this crazy, full of drugs place. And then obviously I didn't want to book anymore, right? Because that's not what I wanted at that time. So because the Airbnb event worked on key, not on key, on press. Well, anyway, when you release the button, I still got time to move my finger out of the button and then release it outside. And that's why the action didn't go through, right?
How do you do that buttons?
Say again?
How do you do syntax buttons?
There is a weird, I'm not going to go that deep, but there is, if you're curious about how it works with buttons, there is a principle in JavaScript called the event bubble. So the event bubble means when you press a button, you press on the button, and then it goes all the way down to the window, and then the windows bring it back the event. So at some point you can control, there is some complexity that goes beyond the scope of this bootcamp, yeah? But there are definitely ways to control what happens when you click on a button. Cool, any questions? Stateful? What do you want me to do? I give you two options. Do you want me to do another question, or do you want me to do the same question using a hook? Same question with a hook? All right, so let's get rid of everything. Say again?
I answered it using hooks.
Cool, that's great. Yeah. Once again, guys, you unfortunately have to dominate both. Yeah. To me, if you are coding for fun, use hooks. But if you work for a company, at least in the short term, you are likely to require some skills using classes. So writing a hook, I mean, it's pretty similar, right? But it simplifies a bit. So you create function countries, and then, I mean, I'll try to speed up a bit, otherwise we'll stay here until tomorrow, right? So you got only one argument, which is the list of countries. So I can use props, and then props of the list, blah, 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 or I can destructure that list, yeah? So then, straight away, I would like to return something. Remember, guys, semicolons, things like that. And now I know I need some state, yeah? We'll talk about differences between const, let, and bar tomorrow after Fish workshop, I believe, at 10:15. So you just create a hook, and the hook is, first of all, search. And then, can anybody tell me a good argument name for the second element? Correct, set search, use a state, and by default, it's an empty string, yeah? So that's my hook. I got a variable search. When I will call the set search with some data. So, all right, so first of all, I need an input, type text. I need to iterate, yeah? List, I don't need to play with the this dot, so now the code got a bit simpler. This dot filter, we'll see in a minute what to type there, and then dot map. So filter country dot includes search. Okay? You see the code became a bit more readable. I don't have to type this dot state dot search because this is directly available there. And then likewise country p tag key country, close the p tag, and then country. Yeah, something like that. That's pretty much it now. So all the efforts are about binding with the method to update the hook. So I can type on change equals what? Well, I can do set search directly. And can anybody tell me what do I have to write here? Correct, e.target.value. And that's it. So you can see that the code clearly got simpler. Will this work? Let's figure out. Confetti time. Yeah? So definitely, I hope you agree with me that it's much easier to solve the problem using a hook. Yeah? If you want, instead of doing that sort of code, you can always create a method call update function update search. That feels a bit unnecessary under my point of view, but still, if you want, you can do that, right? So if you do something like that, remember, because here you got a function and then you call another function with the same argument. So you can simplify that by just binding. So now the update search method will receive the E object. Can I destructure the E object?
Curly braces. It's up here. Semicolon. Curly braces. Value.
Like that? That's interesting.
Change your E dot type.
Here?
To just value.
That's right. That's a very, very complex destructuring strategy because we are going 2 levels down. Yeah. First of all, target. I mean, we could leave it like that. That's what you already know. So then here, target.value. Yeah? However, if you don't want to do that, you can keep destructuring. Something like that. Yeah. You run this code, still works. Up to you. Some people like to have a method like this one. I'm quite a big fan of this technique because, I mean, this is pretty simple, but imagine we wanted to perform some sort of complex operations here. I like to create functions and use these functions to encapsulate my complexity.
You can use update search again if you wanted to in another place, could you or not?
So again,
Could we reuse update search again?
absolutely, you could reuse that update search again somewhere else. That's definitely a good advantage. Yeah, that's definitely a good advantage. And also, cool. Anything else? No. So once again, guys, whenever you face these problems, try to solve them using both a stateful approach and using the hook approach. You will see that eventually the complexity gets clearly reduced when using hooks, particularly on the expert. If you want to play with the advanced track, you will see it's pretty much the same thing, but you just have more conditions. Maybe you have a search field and you got a button and then you got a drop down. So you need to play around with different input elements, but apart from that, it's pretty much the same thing. So the more complex the exercise is, the more convenient from a readability point of view is to use hooks. Because you don't have to deal with this dot, you don't have to deal with state, you don't have to deal with the complexity. Yeah, so simpler. Cool, that was it, guys. Thank you for watching.